OK，
你可以先给我 rehearsal 一遍，然后再给我录屏。OK
没事，我就是不好的剪掉了。
OK，你先给我介绍一下，那个 briefly introduce 一下你们这是一个什么样的 project，你要做什么用，然后我大概就知道该怎么说了。
Uh, so this is a project of about podcasting. We chose like our own topics, and mine happened to be about the Chinese education system.
嗯哼，
And for each episode, I'm interviewing different person, on different subjects. And this for this episode, it's about universities and high school in China. I want to like kind of introduce a person that knows what's going on
嗯
and kind
哼，
of like tell me a story of what you experienced, I guess.
嗯哼，OK，OK，
So like for each of the questions, I
你可以，
guess I kind of
嗯
want you to expand on it as much as possible because uh, ideally I want my podcast episode to be like around 15 minutes.
嗯哼，Yeah,
Like,
you're the interviewer, so you're gonna guide me to, whatever answers you want. OK，
yeah, I guess.
嗯
But I'm not an expert on this topic, so it's really
嗯
you that's giving me all the answers.
嗯，Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's start off this interview with a short introduction of you. Can you introduce yourself to us?
OK, so my name is Yang, and I'm very happy that today my cousin Randy invited me to this interview. So I did my undergrad in China and did my master degree here in the US. And right now I'm living in Seattle, and I'm doing my PhD program here at University of Washington, Seattle. So I got to know a little bit about the both sides, about the university life in China and about the university life in the US. Yeah, so yeah, that's about me.
Um, did you start in kindergarten or grade one in China?
Yeah, yeah,
Grade
I
one.
finished all my studies until I finished my my undergrad degrees. Then I went to the US, United States. Yeah.
So what is senior secondary like compared to junior secondary school in China?
Um, because in China we have what we call college entrance examinations, which is very highly competitive. So I would say the biggest difference between what we call junior secondary and senior secondary in China is the workload. I mean, in senior secondary is much heavier. And of course, the difficulty, there are different levels of courses you study, right? So in junior high school, you just study the basic like knowledge about some basic physics, basic chemistry. You don't have a basic mathematics. You don't have a very in-depth learning or very advanced study of all those courses. But in high school, all those courses, the level of those courses are much higher. You learn much more knowledges and of course much more difficult than junior high school, junior secondary school.
Mhm. So what percentage of your classmates got into university after high school?
Yeah, this is a pretty good question. I guess this is kind of different from Canada. So because in China, from junior secondary school to senior secondary school, there is also an exam. So it's a pretty selective process. And our high school is ranked number 1 in the city. So 100% goes to the university after they graduate from high school. But for other high schools, I'm not sure. Maybe 80%, 50%, depends on their rankings. Yeah.
Mhm. So it's also based on the school. And I just want to point it out that so between each questions when I'm like asking the questions, I'm actually gonna cut it off and re-record
Yeah.
my questions because on Zoom it's kind of low quality. So
Yeah.
like between each question we can like discuss and comment on the answers, etc. So you don't have to worry about like saying things that are unnecessary.
Mhm.
And all right, moving on to the next question. So do you still remember what your daily routine was back in senior secondary?
Back in senior sec. Okay, so in China, senior secondary is 3 years program. So usually the first year, the workload is not that heavy. Usually, we woke up every day around 7 a.m. and there is morning studying sessions, but nobody really study. And then I remember probably 3 or 4 courses in the morning, and then in the afternoon 2 more courses, and about 3 or 3:30. That's end of the class of the day, and then we have some other like clubs, group activities, and then at around 6 p.m. because we are a boarding school. Okay, most of the senior secondary school in China are boarding school, and around 6 p.m. we have another like evening study sessions, which are about 2 hours. But in the first year, usually people are not really that into study, so the first year are pretty, we are having a lot of fun time. But the second year and third year, the workload is much more heavier because you have to deal with the college entrance exam. So the morning is about the same, but we have 1 or 2 more courses in the afternoon. So about 5 o'clock p.m., that's the end of the day. And then we have 1 hour time, having lunch, take a rest, one and a half, I think. And 6:30 p.m., we gonna start the study session, and that's until around 10, and then we go back to the dorm, sleep, and next day wake up 7 a.m. Repeat this until we graduate, finish the college entrance exam. So the first is always pretty fun, but the next 2 years are pretty, we really have to study very, very hard in order to get a good grade, to get into a good college.
So like, so the first year is still kind of like the building knowledge stage, and then it's really the second and third year that you're starting to prepare for the exam, right?
Yeah, at least that's the case for my high school. I'm not sure whether other high schools are the same, but the first year are pretty, the workload is not that heavy. And usually we will finish all those learnings in the first 2 years. Okay, and the third year is almost the whole year is reviewing all the courses we have already learned, we have already took. So yeah, basically the third year, we have a lot of exams, a lot of homework, a lot of study sessions. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's a hard time, but thinking back is also a pretty fun time because everyone is really starting so hard and competing with each other, but also helping each other. So that's kind of a fun memory, a good memory for me.
Well, how are the teachers teaching students in senior secondary? Is it so like giving you lectures and then letting you do homework, or are they like forcing you to do work, etc.?
Basically like that, teaching courses, give homework, a lot of preview, review, and of course, the homework is a lot. Repeat, and repeat. Yes, because the competition in the college entrance exam is really is really high. It's really intense. So yeah.
Well, do like those key senior secondary schools have higher university entrance rate? Oh, you're lagging. And oh, you're back.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, let me repeat the question. So in China, there are like key senior secondary and there's like ordinary senior secondary schools. So do the key senior secondary schools have higher university entrance rate?
My internet connection is not stable.
Uh,
Give me 1 sec. Okay, go ahead and can you ask that question again?
all right. So actually, this question I kind of already know the answer to, but I'm still gonna ask it.
Mhm.
In China, there's like key senior secondary, and there's
Mhm.
also ordinary senior secondary.
Mhm.
So what are some of the, I guess, the advantages that key senior secondary have? Why is it like
Mhm.
why is it like have why is it such a difference than I
Mhm.
guess than ordinary schools?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, there is, there is an exam like very highly selective, not as selective as the college entrance exam, but still very selective exam for junior high school students to enter senior high. So everyone, you have to get a good grades in order to enter those so-called key senior secondary schools. Usually, when you enter this kind of schools, the teaching quality are higher, I guess. But most importantly, the students around you usually, study harder and have a better background. So usually, because you already been through a very selective process, very selective exam, so it makes sense that these students can perform better than the others and those in the ordinary senior secondary schools in the college entrance exam. So, in China, the education system from your kindergarten to high school to college, all the way up is a highly selective path. So you have to kind of every obstacles from not from kindergarten, but from junior secondary to senior high, from senior high to college. So every step you have a very selective exam, and so those key. That's the reason. That's the major reason why those key students from those key senior secondary schools have a college entrance rate compared to those ordinary senior secondary schools.
Yeah, I kind of asked the same question with the my last interviewee. So, he experienced what's it called? The junior secondary well actually no. Yeah, junior secondary exam, entrance exam. And he basically told me that so usually people that gets into the students that are able to enter the key schools usually already had like really good learning habits and had already had really good grades. So like if you gather them together, they're able to create this very good learning environment and very strong learning atmosphere kind of.
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's another important factors.
Yeah. And rather than putting everyone into the same school, maybe some students will get distracted by others and they just won't perform as well.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So I think I missed the question. Right. Are the courses, are there any elective courses in senior secondary?